Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back once again to Fat Cat Collections. Today I want to talk about watch insurance. Now, some of you who are watching this channel, I want you guys to know that even if you were what I consider the watch snob, right? This is for you too. So even if you were a collector of really higher end, got thrown in my dig, a higher end luxury pieces, or just your Invicta collection, this is something that could be of interest to everybody. So watch insurance. So a lot of times when it comes to a homeowner's policy, they have a cap for what they'll pay in the event of a claim, right? So I know with my insurance company, they'll cover up to $2,500 for watches and I think jewelry. I don't know if it's watches and jewelry or but that's not a lot when you have a collection of watches. Now that works for somebody who has maybe 10, 12 different watches, again, depending on value, but for us Invicta maniacs, you know, we have hundreds of Invictas in our collection, or hundreds of watches in our collection. Now for me, I have 160 watches in my collection. Some range in price from 20 bucks and lower, all the way up to, you know, about 4,000. So it really depends on the watch. I've collaborated with a lot of different companies, so I have a really big collection. A lot of times with insurance companies, whether it be a renter's policy, a homeowner's policy, or a like a condo policy, depending on the coverage, they want to have these things scheduled. So again, with my insurance, there's a cap of $2,500, and anything over that you have to have scheduled or appraised. Now, I'm not going to take 160 watches, some of which have really minimal value, and have those appraised. But as a collective value, it's quite a bit of money. You know, I've acquired all my watches through collaborations, and a lot of the watches just purchased over the years. So they all are sentimental to me. They all are business tools that I use and make videos and rear view, and I come back and, you know, talk about these different the different qualities and stuff like that. So they are very important for me to have in my collection. Now, some guys have said, "Oh, why would you want to insure Invictas or put them in a safe? You know, nobody's going to steal those." Guys, everything is stealable, and people steal everything in this world. It doesn't matter what it is. If somebody has more than you and they're that kind of person, they're gonna try to take it. Now, I've talked many times about layering security with, you know, layering security with beefing up your home and door frames and stuff like that, to security cameras, to proper lighting, to sound sensors, to motion sensors, to cameras, to safes. You know, layering your security will give you peace of mind, but this is another layer. So I want to talk a little bit about this company and give you guys kind of an idea of what it costs to insure your watches. Now, I'm not going to sign up at this point right now because I feel like I've layered my security enough where I have the peace of mind. Hopefully I don't ever regret that. But in order for somebody to take anything that I own of value, you're going to have to make a lot of noise. And again, by being, you know, somebody with common sense and using your brain, you know, I've layered my security with these different protocols. And of course, neighbors and stuff like that, family. It's going to be very difficult for somebody to get anything out of my house that's of any value, right? And anything that somebody were to get in, you know, again, you're trying to prevent the snatch and grab burglar. You know, a middle-class regular dude like myself, you're not going to have some high-tech thief target my home. You know what I mean? They're going to be targeting people who they know they can get a large amount of money, whether it be cash, you know, expensive jewels and diamonds and stuff that I just don't own, right? So with that being said, I have a few things of value, and for those few things, you can get insured and through your regular policy, again, getting scheduled, and then they will increase your rates depending on the item. I would think that something like this is probably in line with what your insurance company would charge you if you had a $10,000 Rolex and you want to get insured. It's probably pretty close. I'm saying probably because I haven't priced that. There's no need for me to price that. But what I like about this policy is that they will cover a collection. And so that's really great. So again, the company is HODINKEE, if I didn't say that already. I don't think I did say that. HODINKEE Insurance, and they've contracted with an underwriter to provide watch insurance, which I think is a fantastic idea. Whether or not I get it or not, it's a different discussion. But I'm going to give you guys some ideas on price. Now, again, here's the thing. If you own 100, let's just say, to make the numbers easy, 100 Invictas, right, or 100 watches in the $300 price range, you have a $30,000 collection. Again, that's what it took for you to buy those watches. If you were to replace those, that's not replacement cost, okay? A lot of times with Invictas, and I'm just going, when I say Invictas, I mean watches in general. I'll try not to just make it specifically Invicta. Could be Aragon, could be Bulova. You're going to buy a watch, you might get a really good deal on it, and then maybe years will go by and they stop making it, and you're going to have to find it pre-owned. That's if you want to replace it. And for me, and I think a lot of guys who collect watches in bulk like I do, I think that each piece is meaningful. It's like a frag head, you know what I mean? Colognes and having these different juices, they're all special, and you don't want to, you know, if you end up using one, you want to replace it. And I feel like that's the kind of mindset with a lot of collectors, specifically Invicta collectors, because I don't think there's a lot of guys out there who collect watches kind of like Invicta collectors do. I've always said it before, when a guy buys an Invicta, he doesn't stop at 1, 2, 10. He always buys more. Now, again, if there are the people who maybe had a bad experience, they're like, yeah, no, I'm done. And that's possible. But most people, you know, for over $40 million and 40 million watches sold a year, I think, or $40 million in sales. You know, it's a very popular watch. They're doing something right. I love the brand. But again, they're not the only brand that I own. So what I did is I punched in a few different watches in here just to see what how the price would fluctuate. Very easy to sign up. They say sign up, you create an account, and they'll give you a free quote. What's great about this company is most things online, whether it be mortgages, credit, whatever it is, they say, oh, instant quote. It's never instant. You always have to be hounded by some salesman where you have to reiterate that information anyway, right? And they try to sell you. With this, they're not really trying to sell you. They're like, here's what it is. This is what it costs. Do you want it? Pay for it now. You're covered. So, like with anything that costs you money, I always recommend doing your own research. Don't just take my word for it. If it's something that is of interest to you, click the link in the description, check it out, read more about it, drop me a comment. If I can help in any way, I'm always here. If you just have more information, please drop a comment. If you find this, you found it useful, drop a comment. But I am going to read you a little bit about the insurance and what they put directly on their site. Again, link is in the description, and what I punched in. So I punched in 3 different watches to get to get the value of the insurance, or the value of the collection, and then what it would cost per year. Now, I think this is something you pay for per year. It's not a monthly fee. You can't break it down. But I'm going to give you a monthly price broken down, okay? So I punched in my Visser dive watch, which I'm wearing right now. Value on that right now, if we want to buy it, is about $730. I punched in my Aqua Dive Bathyscaphe, which is about $2,000. Price is pretty much set on those. They don't really ever change. The Vissers were about $1,000 when they first came out. They're down to $730. That price has been kind of locked for a couple of years. So they're probably selling at that. It's probably their sweet spot. The Invicta, I punched in an all gold Sea Hunter, value about $300. I think I paid about $330 for it. You can find it today. You know, I did punch in a model number, and they want you to punch in the name, the brand name, the reference number, the model number, and of course the value, and of course the approximate year, right? So it's either, you know, 2000s, 1990s, 80s, and so on. So I punched in those figures. Really simple. You upload a picture of the watch. I just found pictures online. I didn't take a picture of my own personal watches. Just put them online, and they gave me a quote, instant quote, right then and there. So for one watch, for the Invicta, which value say $300, you can get that watch for $200 today. But again, like anything else, it's all about supply and demand. And watches really are all over the place. I have watches that I've purchased for, you know, I got a great deal on, and you can put them on eBay. There's a few that I've gotten rid of, and you can sell them for more. Other watches, you won't be able to get what you paid for them, right? It just really depends. There are some Invictas, some Aragons. I have Aragons that, you know, I got for, you know, $200. You probably get 8 for them now, you know, 6 to 8. So again, it really comes down to what value is determined by what somebody's willing to pay. You may have to sit on things. I always laugh when I watch things like Pawn Stars. You know, we've been watching that lately, and guys come in and be like, all right, what's it worth? And, you know, they'll have an appraiser say, it's about worth $10,000. And the guy's like, what do you want for it, you know? And the guy's like, oh, $10,000. Well, no, you know, he's doing this to make money, right? And so he's going to have to sit on it, put it in his store. All this factors into the cost of doing business. And you may have to sit on something for a very long time. I've had watches on eBay I've had up for a couple of years, and finally I just get the right buyer, and they buy them. It's a price where I'm happy with, and they're happy with, you know. Most recently, I sold my Delta T Heavy Armor. I just didn't wear it. It's green. I'm not a green fan. But I do love money. But for whatever reason, green just doesn't do it for me. So I sold that. So, again, punching in these figures on here, again, just stating that $300, I think that if you had an Invicta stolen that was that Sea Hunter, all gold, $300 is probably going to be able to get you one, you know, whether you have to find one used, pre-owned, like they say, pre-owned, find one new. Regardless, that's roughly what you're going to pay. So, and same with the Visser, same with the Bathyscaphe. So, punching in those figures, we came to a collection total of about $3,000. The price was about $50 per year. $50 per year for the one Invicta and $50 per year for all three. So I wanted to play with the figures a little bit and see how it changed. So I just started changing the values of these items, and I did add a Rolex Submariner, yellow gold. I found the price pre-owned on Walmart.com for $30,000. Now, Walmart does not sell Rolex direct. I'm sure Walmart probably contracts with somebody, or they might have an inventory. I'm just not really 100% sure, but it was available through Walmart, which I found funny. Again, just to see what the figures would do. So now they do have a list of what, quotes without having to punch in information here. And what I found is, again, without really shopping insurance around town, I think that this is a pretty reasonable price for insuring a collection. And again, what's really cool about this is that if you are a guy, if you have a homeowner's policy, you're like, well, I have a Rolex, I want to have it insured, you'll probably just have your insurance company insure it, right? They'll charge you more per month. You'll get it appraised. No big deal. But again, if you have 160 watches, I'm not going to pay somebody money to appraise 160, regular guy, $200, $300 watches. It's just not worth it. It's too much money. It's not worth my time. It's ridiculous. So with this allows you to do this without actually having an appraisal. Now, you do have to get an appraisal if you have a piece that's over $100,000 or more, and that does need to be submitted within 90 days after your policy starts. They can assist in getting a digital appraisal for you. So for the average guy, though, we're probably not too worried. We're probably not going to have to deal with that, right? I don't know anybody with a $100,000 watch, right? And so what the policy will cover is up to 150% of your watch's insured value. So if you have an Invicta watch valued at, or a $100 watch, right? If that's part of your collection, you add it on there. Well, that's one of the watches that gets stolen. They'll give you replacement value up to 150% of the value you listed that watch at, which is pretty cool. Now, I don't know the fine print as far as insurance companies love to collect your money, but they don't like to pay out. I'm not sure what proof is involved. Again, if you want to get this, I would definitely contact the company and walk, have them walk you through a claim process with everything you're going to need. I know a lot of times when, I've talked to people in the past, they're like, oh, make sure you take pictures of everything. My insurance company does not care if you have pictures. It doesn't matter. They tell you what they'll pay. If you put it on the claim there, they'll pay it. Again, fine print, you'll probably have to have all that stuff documented with the police department. And I assume this is no different. I'm sure that if you have a claim, you will have to provide some sort of documentation of theft. Let me just, again, read a little bit more. It says here, are my watches not covered under my homeowner's policy? And that's the question most people ask. It says typically $5,000 or less. I would say less, because my insurance companies that I use, I'm not going to mention the names, but it's $2,500. So, for a collection, for an expensive watch, that's not going to do it, right? If you have a couple Bulivas, you're good to go. You don't need this. But so if your watch costs more than that, you won't be able to replace it. It says here, the underwriter by Chubb will provide all risk coverage for most cases for cause of loss with no deductible. So you can protect your watch without worry. That means if you break a watch, lose it, can't find it, or it's stolen, you'll be compensated in no time, so you can purchase another watch. So I think it's really great that they cover it from damage as well. Pretty cool, So far sounds pretty good. Zero deductible, that's fantastic. It says here, if a watch has gone up in value, it says here they recommend you go back in and, again, it will pay 150% of your watch's insured value. This is subject to the maximum amount of coverage of your watch collection. However, each watch is unique and values fluctuate over time. We recommend man, I tell you, I can't talk today. Periodically tracking I need insurance for my mouth, right? Tracking the market value of your watches so that you're best protected. It says here, do I need to get appraisals? Again, it says you only need appraisals for watches valued at over $100,000, again within 90 days. It says my watch was stolen and Chubb issued a check for the total covered amount. Do I have the opportunity to buy the watch back if it's recovered? If Chubb recovers a lost or stolen watch, we'll offer you the opportunity to buy it back at the same amount that was paid at the time of our loss. Should you prefer to keep the payout, Chubb will retain the watch. So it's interesting. So Chubb probably has investigators. Chubb is probably, I've never heard of Chubb, but they're probably a company who also investigates claims. They investigate their own claims. They probably have an investigation department in-house. Again, I don't know anything about the company or how large they are. I assume they're pretty large. And they'll probably try to recover assets. I'm not sure their process on how to do that. I'm sure that's no different with with other insurance companies, they will try to recover things back, right? So that's kind of cool, I guess. I would think that if you had something stolen, you'll probably just try to, you'll probably just buy it and replace it, and then you don't care, keep the watch, right? Unless it's something super sentimental, okay? But yeah, pretty straightforward. Now, again, by punching the numbers in there, they state here a couple different approximate coverage costs. If you have a Tudor Black Bay 58, value $3,600, it'll cost $51 per year. That's pretty much in line with when I did the 3 watches, which are about $50 per year for $3,000. And if we jump all the way up to like a Patek, you're looking at $73,000 watch for $934 per year. When I did a collection of some, let's just say a collection like mine, well, it might be a little more, but if you had a collection of 100 Invictas, say the average price is $300 per watch. I think that's reasonable. For mine, it's about $31,000 for about $30,000 for based on those figures. It was about $450 per year, which is roughly about $35 per month, if I remember correctly. So overall, not horrible. I think in insurance, if you were to have one watch insured with your homeowner's policy, I think it's going to be pretty much in line. But again, this is really kind of exciting news for us Invicta guys, guys who have a huge collection of watches, because really prior to seeing this, I don't know how you would get a collection insured. What are you going to, it's a real hassle. What are you going to take all your 100 Invictas or 200, 300 Invictas down, have them appraised? I don't even know if they appraised, affordable items like that. So I like the fact that really this is pretty straightforward and it seems very easy. Now again, before you get this, to make sure that you're covered, ask the questions. Be a smart consumer, ask the questions. Take my video as a little bit of information that maybe you'll use it to have discovered this service. But email them, get in contact with them if it's something you want to get. Also, when you're adding watches to your collection on here, they ask for a picture. Don't do what I did. I just did it for purpose of the video. Don't go and find a picture. Take a picture of your actual watch. I know that's something you guys would probably do. However, I would go a step further, whether they ask for it or not. Make sure you ask them for what proof do you need that I own this. I think it's a great idea regardless. If you decide to get this today and you worry about the proof later, I would go ahead and when you take a picture of each watch in your collection, if by some chance you have the receipt, which I don't have any, but if you did, that's great. If some of you guys like to collect all your bills and hold on all that stuff, then great. Add that in the picture. But I would also go a step further in adding maybe today's newspaper with the date being shown on there, and then have a picture of the watch next to your identification. This way it'll guarantee that when that license was issued, you were in possession of the watch. It shows the date that you were in possession of the watch. I think it's just another way just to protect yourself. Again, they don't recommend that. This is something I recommend. I wish they allowed you to upload multiple pictures of each watch, but they only allow you one. So I think if you're smart about how you position those things, you can definitely position that in a picture to have proof that you actually had, your identification, that watch, together, and you just didn't find a picture online, right? Just add it to your collection to pull some insurance scam, right? This is the world we live in. So I think it's a pretty cool service. Again, from a collection like mine, I would estimate about $500 per year, which, would pretty much get my collection back. And even if some of the watches that, let's just say, I'd like to see the duffel bag for somebody taking 160 watches out of my house. But again, let's say, us Invicta collectors, I know, I've seen some of the pictures. You guys, and I wish I could do it too. I would love to be able to display my stuff. But for me, for my peace of mind, I just don't want to do that, I want to prevent somebody from coming in, especially being public about talking about watches and knowing what, telling you guys what I have. I don't want somebody to think they can just come through, break down my door, snatch and grab and be out. It's going to be an extremely noisy, loud process for anybody to get anything out of my house. And by then, most likely I'm going to show up. So, or somebody's going to show up. So, anyway, though, I think for those of you, I'll tell you right now, if I didn't have my watches in a safe, okay, and locked up, and I wanted to display them, trust me, I've thought about building like a custom-made wall display here, especially for videos. It'd be so cool to have all the watches on display, and just I think it's a real, like, you walk into some closets and guys have that. They have this beautiful display. I know like guys like Red Essence for cologne, when he does his videos, got all the cologne behind him, and that's fantastic. But you know, I just, for my peace of mind, it would worry me too much to have that stuff out and really easily available. So for some snatch and grab crackhead. So if you are the kind of guy who doesn't care, this is something. If I was doing that, I would definitely, without a doubt, have this. I think it's interesting too because, you know, on a side note, guys with cologne collections, you know, cologne is not cheap either. The colognes cost upwards of $300-400 for a bottle, and I've seen some of these influencers, like, that's a lot of stealable stuff. I don't know how insurance companies cover that stuff. You know, where are you going to get cologne appraised? So I wonder if they'll ever have a company like this for cologne. The thing is with that is cologne is something that you use, you know, so I'm not sure how that would work. But anyway, just a side note. But anyway, let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm always here to help you guys if I can. I'll put a link in the description to this company. If you do end up getting it, let me know. I'm curious about it. I'm curious if you've ever had this company, you have a claim, how that process works. And again, if you are going to get this, make sure that you ask the small questions. What happens if I have a claim? What happens if I break the watch? What proof do you need? Because the last thing you want is to get something like this, be paying for it for years, and then have something happen where you're like, all right, now I got to collect. And then they're like, oh, well, you didn't do this. And then you're like, well, I didn't know. You know, so make sure you get all the information. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Subscribe to the channel and take care.